Good afternoon, folks. This is Ray John Mitchell coming at you again with another podcast for the anchor section of the EduNation blogging community. Today is Tuesday, and I'm going to talk to you all about an education-related issue. Now, this morning I came across an article that was very, very compelling in terms of just its sensibleness to the issue of education reform and improving our country's education system, which sensible but compelling, because the article's content is basically that in order to truly improve our education system and our country, really, since our education system is really where it all begins in terms of strengthening the foundation, the core of our society's values, as well as our citizens' ability to be interdependent, self-sufficient, and able to truly achieve the American dream. We have to begin by listening to the people that are affected most / are within that schooling system the most. That is the students, school staff, teachers, and anyone else within that school administration, particularly the last three. Why? Because they are the ones that handle the daily operations of our schools. This article focused its content on the fact that teachers across the country, regardless of their political affiliation, are upset about how their states, how their localities, how their school districts are handling funding, teachers' unions, handling how they hire teachers, how they treat teachers, regardless of their just skill level and where they're coming from in terms of their teaching career. And they're fed up. It's been going on for decades now, ever since the Reagan and Bush Sr. administrations had implemented the first set of reforms to the system that emphasized more focus on standardized testing rather than actual focus on student growth, personal growth, and interpersonal relations. And because of that shift in paradigm, it had put more pressure upon teachers, school staff, and school administration to really prepare students for standardized testing, prepare them for state testing, because if they didn't prepare those students well enough, they would get labeled as bad. And if these school personnel get labeled as bad, then that means that school district, that school, they lose funding. They lose funding from the city, the state, and that puts not only the teachers out of employment, but it also ruins it for the children. It ruins it for the families. It ruins it for that entire area in terms of their education system. They have to either move out of that community or have to suffer through. Those children and those teachers have to suffer through the low amount of investment that they're getting from the government, and suffer through just the egging that society is giving them just because they are being perceived as not fulfilling their job, even though it's pretty difficult to do so when you're not really receiving that much funding and investment from your quote-unquote employers. Now, as I said, this has been going on since the 1980s, and with No Child Left Behind and Barack Obama's with George Bush Jr.'s No Child Left Behind of 2002 and Barack Obama's race to the top of 2015, the situation hasn't gotten any better. Been more focused on standardized testing, just rebranded in terms of focusing on STEM and focusing on personalized development for the latter, even though the latter doesn't necessarily do so. Teachers everywhere have said that the latter, Race to the Top Act of 2015, does not focus truly on personalized development, just personalizing the testing experience, which puts more pressure on our children. And as a former student, I'm only a year and a half out, basically a year out of senior year of high school. It has not changed the perception of putting pressure upon students and school personnel to really hammer down on preparing for the test rather than preparing for life skills. Students, teachers, and even all the school personnel alike have noticed that. They've all noticed that. They've been able to speak upon that. However, school personnel are especially pressured to not be able to say much about that because our society values high excellence in test taking, because that's been viewed as the way to get into college and get into and forward yourself through many other aspects of life, forgetting about those personal skills, which parents have to but build with their children when their children are my age, when they're in college, when they're already away from home, which for a lot of them is culture shock once they enter those first 2 years away from home. It's not good. It really put as a detriment in terms of having more adults, more young people being able to participate in our economy and be able to do so with the interpersonal skills that allow them to be able to rise up through the ranks with the trajectory necessary to allow for more people to be successful in this economy. Now then, so as mentioned, the school personnel feel pressured. They're unable to speak about this. However, that's been in the past. Over this past decade, the school personnel have been increasingly speaking out. A lot of them have been going into political office or running for political office, specifically during this year, taking this hotly contested midterm election year as their advantage to voice their concerns. And I stand in solidarity with them. I believe that this is a time where we have to capitalize on the fact that education is a serious issue in our country that needs to be addressed. The quality of education, needs to be addressed now. And we need to start listening to those that are truly affected by the quality of the education system, the teachers, the school personnel, other school personnel, and the students. And they're voicing their concerns, and it's time that we as a society listen to them if we are to improve it. Not these professionals, I use air quotes when I say professionals, that are not proximate. They're not within the school system. They're not experiencing the daily concerns and daily issues, the daily nuances that those 4 parties that I listed at the beginning of this podcast experience. These professionals, they don't know. They're out of touch. We have to make sure we give more attention to those that are actually within the school system. If we do not, we will see our school system continue to falter, and we will continue to see our children continue to not develop interpersonal skills, but still do good on international tests. Which, when you're in the job, when you're in the working field, when you're trying to enter entrepreneurship, when you're trying to build a business, when you're trying to enter the corporate world, test-taking excellence isn't going to help you as you try to rise up and gain promotions, get that sales call, get that sales pitch, marketing, and develop new technologies. Those things do not help. Interpersonal skills, memory retention, which testing helps, but memory retention of certain skills and being able to do things rather than have someone tell you to do things, tell you to remember certain things, is what's going to help our society improve, and is what's going to help our children be able to enter these highly important occupations in our society. And that begins with improving our education system, and that begins by listening to those that were within that education system, that have been in there for centuries at this point, the last century and a half. This has been Ray John Mitchell. Thank you for your time. I'll make sure that I share not only this podcast, but the article that I came across this morning to the social media accounts that I have for EduNation. And once again, thank you. Signing off now. You all enjoy the rest of your day.